Alright, here we are today. I'm gonna restore my carbon fiber hood. I bought this like 18-20 years ago, and after a few years it started to get that haze that most carbon fiber gets. But so about 15 years ago I had someone down the road for like $50 in their shop put some clear coat on it, which brought it back to life. I don't know if it'll focus or not, but brought it back to life. Well, like I said, it's been about 15 years, so the clear coat is just chipping away. So I'm gonna use some paint thinner. I'm gonna strip this hood of all the clear coat on it, and I will put some more clear on it. Let me get all these hood pins off first. Alrighty, I got that hood off, and I said hood pins on this just because I was leaving the racetrack one day and I forgot to latch my hood. So as soon as I pulled out, the hood snapped back, smashed my windshield. It bent these, which I don't even use anymore, but it bent the crap out of those. And the reason I do use the hood pins isn't for looks. It's actually because where the latch bolts up to the hood right in here, well, it actually got the nuts on one of them, right here. It got the nut and completely stripped it out. So it was a $600 hood 20 years ago. I wasn't going to waste my time getting a new hood, so put hood pins in it. And as you will see, my first place I was trying to do the hood pins was right there, because I thought that'd be the better place for it instead of right there where it currently is. But after I drilled the hole and installed the hood pins, I didn't realize at the time that the hood pins were so short that they wouldn't even stick through the hood. So I think I initially was going to mount them here. I believe it was here is where I was going to mount it. But like I said, the hood was thicker than I thought right there, so the hood pins were too short and didn't stick to the hood. So I had to figure out a new location. But that's why I do rock the hood pins. It's not because it's the cool thing to do. It's just because it's either that or the hood's flying off. Alright, I'm going to get the hood in there and get it prepped. Alright, here's a progress report so far. I was actually able to get a lot of the old clear off by just using a freaking razor blade. Like, all I did right here is just scrape it off with the razor blade, and all it needs is a light sanding and it's almost done. But I sanded this side some. I still got some more work to do to get rid of the rest of this clear, and then I still got to work on that side of the hood some more. I'm using, see here what I'm using right now. I'm using some 3M 80 grit right now with this little sucker. I've been using that for a little bit, but yeah, it's once I get done with that 80 grit, I get this side right here to look a little more like this. I'm still going to sand this a little bit more with the 80 grit, but once I get it where it's very faint, like almost in this area where it's just barely still there, I'm going to then hit it probably with some 320, and then I'm going to hit it with some 1000 grit, and then we'll try and clear it. But I've been on vacation the last 2 weeks, and it's really kind of sucked because I've had to drive my car some because it's been raining. But I will say, I don't know why I hate that look, but I love the way this thing looks without a freaking hood on it. I don't know why, I just like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. But yeah, I actually had an issue where it was pouring down rain one of the days, and man, one of the coal packs, I had to take all this off, but one of the coal packs actually was flooded with water where it seeped in, and it was misfiring like you wouldn't believe. And I love this strut tower bar, which obviously, like I said, I think it looks awesome without a hood, but I love this strut tower bar. There's one issue I don't like about it, and that is, once you take this cover off I have, the coil packs cannot come out because they are hitting this freaking bar. I don't know if it does that or not with the factory strut tower bar or not, but when you're, you know, in a parking lot because it's misfiring like crazy and having to do that, then you got to take all this off too. It just makes it a little bit more of a pain, but I still think it's worth it. All right, let me get back to sanding. All right, I'm done with that 80 grit now. I've got 95% of the old clear off. Still got a little bit in this corner, but honestly, even with the scuff marks on it from the 80 grit, this looks better than what it did with all the clear coat chipping off. All right, I'm gonna move to the 320 grit next. Yep. All right, I've only done the 320 grit for about 5 minutes or so, but I've only done from here over. As you can see, you can almost see a line that goes through there, but I've only spent about 5 minutes on it, and you can already see how much better this section looks compared to that section. So don't get discouraged or anything if yours is really gray looking, you see all the scuff marks, because I mean, like I said, I've only spent 5 minutes and you can see all the scuff marks I put in it from the 320 grit, or sorry, from the 80 grit. And then just after a couple minutes with my 320, because this side looked the same, you can see that, I mean, there's still a few spots here and there, but like I said, I'm not done yet with this side, but they'll start to come out and it'll be fun. But you can already tell the difference, and I've still got more to do on this side itself. I just wanted to show you a little bit of a difference between the two, because honestly, what it's going to look like, even though it looks like this, once you throw some clear on it. Hold on, let me turn this fan off. I'm going to dry it. Once you put clear on it, it'll basically, there's soap in it, but don't worry, you won't even see them anymore anyway, unless you look real close. And I'm not super picky about it right now, just because, like I said, there's a hole. I've got a giant crack that goes from here all the way up to there, from where I ran it up on a curb when the roads got icy one day. So I'm not too picky about what it's going to look like. I said there's another crack right here, another crack here that goes up that way, but you can basically get the idea of what it will look like when you do start throwing clear on it. Gosh, it's going to look so much better. So much better. Like seeing that carbon fibre pop. That's what it's going to look like currently. Just like I said, a little bit of 320. And this is what I'm at right now with the 80 grit. But we'll get there. Alright, I'm done with the 320 grit. And it's coming out pretty good. Oh, it's still wet. Hold on a second. Turn my little fan on here so it can dry off. There we go. You can see the difference what it's going to look like with and without the clear coat, pretty much. But alright, I'm done with the 320. I'm going to go to the 1000 grit now. But what I like to do is I actually like to dry sand it first. I've done it with each one, with my 80 and my 320. I dry sand it first so that it can really scuff up and you can really see what's going on. And then, like, say when I did my 80, I dry sanded with the 80 to really kind of cut down really good. But I still wanted to use my 80 grit, so then I just get a little spray bottle with some water and then I wet sand it. And it's not as abrasive as it is dry sanding, so you can put a little elbow grease in it and it doesn't take off too much, even though it's like, say, 80 grit. I could put some real good elbow grease on it, but wet sanding, it still was taking a minute, so I wouldn't go too far. But yeah, I'm gonna do the 1000 grit next, and then not off to clear. I want to try some clear coat I got the other day. But all right, well, so far though, I mean, it's way better. I mean, heck, if I just left it the way it is right now, that is so much better than what it was before. So much better. But all right, let me get to doing this 1000 grit. Alrighty. I'm done enough, I guess. It doesn't matter with the 1000 grit. There's still some little spots here and there. Like I said, don't worry about this thing. Oh, let's go this way. Don't worry about that, or that one, or those. Those are actually in the acrylic itself. So, I mean, I could technically just keep wet sanding with 1000 grit, and then go to 2000 grit, and I think there's 4000 grit as well. I've got some stuff from my model cars where it goes all the way to 12,000 grit, and you could basically just keep doing that and not have to clear it, and it'll basically look brand new. But that acrylic, when it sits in the sun, like almost every carbon fiber piece I've ever seen, after a couple of years, it almost starts to fade, and honestly, it looks kind of like that where it's hazy, but sometimes worse. So I like to clear coat mine. That way it lasts so much longer. But like I said, I'm done with the 1000 grit. I've wiped it down, but I need to actually clean the surface. I'm going to use this crud I got laying around for years, but it's mainly because it's a degreaser. So I can clean the surface really well with this odorless paint thinner, which I always hear that and makes me laugh. Makes me think of old Bob Ross. He loved that odorless paint thinner and beating the heck out of that brush. But so I'm gonna wipe it down and clean it with this real quick, and then I'm going to get started with the clear. All right, I just cleaned it with the degreaser, but while it was still wet, I just wanted to show you basically, hopefully, what it's gonna look like when I'm done. But you can see, compared to what it was when I first took it off the car, how it was chipping and everything, man, this is going to look so much better. You can actually see the carbon as it moves now, which is going to be so nice. Very nice. But yeah, I'm going to let this dry very thoroughly real quick. Put my little cage there on. Yep. No, it goes away. It'll come back. That's what's nice about that acrylic, man. As soon as it gets wet, you kind of, when it's wet like that, you can really see what's going to stand out and what's not going to stand out. Because, like right now, all you can see are scratches and everything else. But when I clear cut it first, the clear will actually fill in the gaps a little. But when it's wet, it's nowhere near as noticeable. And to be honest, with the chips like this, but you can't really see the chips because I got these covering it. But, you know, I got 2 extra random holes in the hood and all the cracks. I don't care if it's 100% perfect. But what I am going to do, though, is I figured I'm going to try this out. This Dupli-Color 1K Clear Extreme Gloss Finish. Scratch resistant, gasoline resistant, ultraviolet protection. Man, this ain't like my old, that's Krylon I used to play with back in the day, where I had no runs, no drips, no errors. You put it in a fire and it goes besides that. But this is a 1K clear, and I know 2K clear is extremely durable, so I want to see what this 1K clear can do. Out of a rattle can, I don't really feel like I said, I don't feel like spending too much time. I actually do have some automotive 2K clear. Let's see. Well, you can't really tell, but it's got all the stickers on it. There's that. That's what I used to. Don't mess with my airbrush and paint booth right now. It's a disaster at the moment. But I do have 2K, but I don't really have a spray gun except for this thing, and I'm not airbrushing a whole freaking hood. So I'm just going to try this rattle can just to, I mean, worst case scenario, I wasted 8 hours and $30 worth. I'll take the risk. Alright, I'm going to keep the fan on there for a few minutes, let it dry really good, and then I'm going to start on with the clear coat. Alright, well, I've applied 2 coats of that clear and I ran out. It needs a 3rd coat, I believe. It's been sitting for roughly 30 minutes or so. But, yeah, I need to go get another can and put on a 3rd coat. But so far, I mean, I'm not going to, I mean, it's going to be hard to tell until I get it out in the sun. But, I mean, it definitely could use a 3rd coat. But, I mean, gosh, I'm happy with it. It's a million times better than what it started out to be. That's for sure. I mean, I can still see some of them deeper scratches right there, but I mean, I ain't looking at that. But I mean, honestly, for a rattle can, and after I add the other coat, I mean, you can see the reflection of the light decently well. I mean, this little spot right here, I don't know if it's because it's got, the humidity's probably high right now, which it wasn't raining earlier. I didn't know this until after I started clear coating it, that it was raining outside, which clear coat, I always had it act funny on me when it's humidity's high. So I don't know what that is, but it goes away, because when I was spraying it, there was huge streaks everywhere. You could see every single, like every other spray I did, you could see this white line. But after it sat a little bit, it goes away, and all that's left right now is just that little bit. But yeah, I don't know if you can see, there's a couple little spots, like right here, right here, there's another one there. It's just hard to, where my angle was, it's hard to see where it was nighttime when I was painting. But yeah, once I get another coat, another can, I'm gonna do a 3rd coat, a real heavy 3rd coat, and should be good. It's good enough where I don't know if I want to wet sand it afterwards, just to make it where you can really get a mirror shine on this. I probably won't, just because this is so much better than it was. But I'm going to get another can tomorrow, put on another coat or 2, and let her dry, put everything back together. But I mean, I'm so happy with it. I just love how when you get carbon fiber at an angle, how like this little strip here, you know, it just goes doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, moves along. But alright, well, let me get another can tomorrow, and I'm gonna get this thing in the daylight just to see what it looks like as is before I put another coat. But alrighty, nothing to do till tomorrow. Alright, well, I got another can of that clear to put on here, and I waited roughly 48 hours, like the can says, to reapply, but I waited like 44 hours, not exactly 48. So either the clear wasn't thoroughly dry, and or I applied my clear a little too thick in some areas, because I get this wrinkled texture right here where it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, it's just wrinkled. It's like what water looks like on a lake as it's starting to freeze. So I may have laid it on too thick, but I was trying to lay it thick. But so I'm just going to try and wet sand with some 1000 grit sandpaper and see if I can get those out. But I will say though, that can clear. There was one issue I was having no matter what I was doing, and that was I would always get these little stripes like this no matter what. I tried to overlap as best as I could, but it comes out as such a fine, it's got like such a fine spray pattern almost. I mean, no matter how far back I would go, it still just had like a nice fine pattern to it. I just could not, no matter what I did, I mean, those little streaks are everywhere. I've never had clear do that. But hopefully I'll be able to sand and get all of this out. So I guess let me get to work on it real quick, I guess. As you can see, I have gotten most of the high spots. I actually started with 400 grit because this stuff is really tough actually. But I just got a little more work here to do with my 400 because these I take my time with. I don't want to go too hard with it because especially in corners and stuff, you can go completely through the clear. But I just got a little work to do here. I'm going to touch it here, and then I will touch it a little bit more over here with my 400. Then I'll go to my 1000 grit. Then I'll probably actually go to my 2000 grit. Then we'll start polishing. But it's getting there. It's been frustrating, but it's getting there. I am done with the wet sanding. I'd say I'm 95% happy with it. It's good enough. But when I was sanding a little in these corners, like I said, there's still a little bit, but I can live with that. But I noticed yesterday that it was a little tacky. Like the clear wasn't thoroughly dry, which is crazy because the first coat I put on was 6 days ago, 5 days ago, something like that. And then the coat before that, and then my second coat I did was 3, well, now it was 4 days, but as of yesterday it was 3 days ago. Because I remember it was at least 3 days. And it was still tacky, so last night before I went to bed, I stuck this outside and I put something on the hood to make sure the wind wouldn't blow it away, just in case the storm blows over. I wanted it like in the sun so we could get some good drying time. Well, I put a completely sealed bottle on there, and it did that. It was a brand new thing of antifreeze, which has the seal. And somehow the antifreeze still leaked on here. It has been one heartbreak after another with this dang hood. I've never had this much issue with anything before when it comes to paint and body stuff. Like, it's been aggravating. But I'm hoping, I tried sanding and I got some of it out, but then I'll have to fix it later because I actually did right here go through the clear, which so I was being very gentle with this. Like I said, I'll touch that up another day because we have storms coming tomorrow and I need to put my hood on because I'm tired of having to stop when it rains. So I can pull the coil packs and spark plugs to turn the engine over to knock out all the water because it keeps getting wet because I don't have a hood on the car. But I'm hoping it'll polish out and buff out because that's my next step. Is I'm going to, let's see here, I want to use some McGuire's Ultimate Compound to buff this sucker out, and then it'll start looking like new. And alrighty, hop. But yeah, it has turned out so far so good. Like I said, I've gotten most of those little wrinkles out. I still got a little bit here, but it's, I mean, compared to what it was, it's so much better. All right, let me get to polishing. All right, I'm gonna call this done enough for now. I'm happy with it. It's a million times better than what it was before. So it's a bunch of stuff aggravating me, but I'm gonna call this done. I gotta get more polishing on it, but I'll say it's done. That looks so much better. I'm so glad I did that. It was a pain. I gotta do some more polishing and waxing on it before I call it done. But I just had to rush it last night because there were some nasty storms this morning as soon as I got to work. But this thing needs some loving inside too. This thing's dirty, but it is a million times better than what it was before. A million. But I do think, though, that every car, I don't care what it is, needs one of these little buttons right there. Don't worry about that hole where I drilled by accident. I didn't realize there was a tab behind there when I first drilled the hole. Everybody needs one of those. It's for a good old toot. This thing's got, I'm sure you've seen the 4 horns that are on the front, so I got train horns on it. Alrighty, I'm gonna end this video now. Yeah, it sucked. There was some major issues that went on with the paint doing everything it did, and then the antifreeze, which was weird because this morning when I went outside, the hood was wet and the antifreeze spot was there. But I guess when it's in the sun and it's dry, the antifreeze spot is not there. So I don't know. I've never done research on that, but I will say that I'll give that paint for being a spray can clear wasn't that bad. I don't like its spray pattern. It was very narrow. That's my only thing I'll say about it, is the spray pattern was very narrow. It could be a little bit wider, and I think it would be better, but because it was so hard to get, because you're supposed to overlap your passes, and I'm like, man, if it's only spraying like it almost seemed like an inch wide, it is extremely hard to freehand and overlap that at the same time. It is extremely hard. I mean, if it had like a 2, 4, or like a 4-inch spray pattern, it'd have been perfect, but it didn't. So it made it, like I said, it was so difficult to overlap your passes. So I was having streaks and stuff, but luckily, after you clear something, you know, sandpaper can generally fix all. But all right, I guess that's all for now. See you guys later.